begin. You're in too deep to go back again. Cash is pay to play. You want more hits than lemonade. No, you don't own me. You don't even know me. This vagabond with a two-part path to the great beyond. Stay genuine, a ground floor up I can help you find. You're a dreamer, call me when you're Bieber. And when they play it, you can't help but sing along. That's nothing odd, that's nothing wrong. 'Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry, the first time you felt live. No, a good song never dies. Like a lover who won't back down. They pull you over to the side, look you straight into the eyes. No good songer. No good songer. The first time they made you cry, the first time you felt alive. No good songer. 'Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry, first time you felt alive. No good song never. 'Cause a good song never dies.
Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of absolutely epic and entertaining action in the AlphaTauri Challenge Season 17 as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing and powered by both Syncmesh and Glass and Steel Photography and Design. It's time for round number 8 of 12 and where exactly we've made our way to? We're no longer in the US of A. We've completed our time in the United States of America having travelled from the west to the east coast and back. But here today we've made our way across the Atlantic Ocean for a brief stop in the United Kingdom. But specifically, we have made our way to the fastest circuit in the United Kingdom. It is none other than the Thruxton circuit. Home to the British Automobile Racing Club, the BARC. It is a circuit which is a staple of the annual TCR UK and British Touring Car Championship calendars, and it's easy to understand why. At its core, it's got a circuit length of 2.35 miles and a grand total of 12 corners, which most of these corners are sweeping bends, if not harsh braking zones and therefore chicanes. And what it means, this is one of the hardest circuits to be absolutely on the limit at, because if you go too far you'll end up in the grass, and go too slow and you'll end up being left behind, and indeed looking at the backsides of your rivals who charge away. And therefore you've got to be absolutely on the limit to win it, and for our drivers, tyre wear, speed management, it's all going to add up, and there can only be one result at the end, victory or loss. But who exactly will be the winners going into our mid-season break? Well, that's what we're here to find out today, is bring you all the racing action as if it were live. Indeed, as we welcome you all to this YouTube broadcast day, we'll, of course, you'll catch up with all the racing action from none other than Monday the 8th of June 2026, as we present it to you as if it were live today, this Tuesday the 9th of June. Therefore, we do not know what happens in the practice session, which is gradually coming to a close in the background, nor the upcoming qualifying session, or most importantly, the race, and it's going to be as close as possible to the raw live viewing experience for you guys and girls tuning in at home. And of course, as always, we do ask, if you do happen to know the outcome of the racing, just be careful of any spoilers in the YouTube chat, in case you do have some individuals who are tuning in and they're going to be finding this out for the first time as the racing gets underway. Alas, where are my manners? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh. I shall be your host and commentator for this season, and indeed for this broadcast as well. And in terms of our timings for today, times in Eastern Daylight Time, EDT, or Universal Coordinate Time -4, UTC -4, as we can see in approximately 13 minutes time, we'll make our way into our qualifying session. 10 minutes in duration, lone qualifying, 2 laps available to our drivers, and who exactly will be coming out on top for pole position, and will it prove pivotal to take pole, or will our drivers be able to fight their way forward in our 45 minutes endurance race, which is due to get underway at 9:25 this evening. But as we make our way into this round, of course, you're catching all this racing action the only place you can do so on a weekly basis, and that's on youtube.com, and search for Porsche Productions or PWP. Without further ado, ladies and gents, let's not differ any longer, and let's bring it up to speed with the story so far after 7 rounds of racing, and what exactly we can expect going into round number 8 of 12 for this season. For as we can see, taking a look back at our calendar, we have completed our time in the United States of America, from Detroit to St. Petersburg to Miami to Barber to Long Beach to Chicago, and last time out in the state of Ohio. On the 1st of June, we raced at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. There for our 60-minute endurance race. Well, it was definitely a day focused around strategy and track position, with overtaking proving challenging for all the drivers up and down the field, and just as many overtakes being made in the pit lane, if not more, than out on circuit. However, it all started with an absolutely entertaining qualifying session, with 33 drivers going out into the circuit, and we saw that whilst there was a risk of rain, it never quite materialised, but it was a downpour of lap times when it came to qualifying, with our top 4 separated by only 33 thousandths of a second, and it was pole position for Wojciech Swirydowicz just ahead of Logan McKenzie, Ian Bertolucci taking a Gamma pole position 3rd overall with an incredible pole lap in his class, and Matthew Meilleur round off that top 4. However, we saw a further 700ths to Fleet Smith, with 5th through to 23rd separated by less than 1 second, and in amongst all that, we did also see the return of 3 big names on the Alpha Touring Challenge grid, including the Delta class Trenton Kramer, in Gamma Connor Achitella, and in the Alpha class, our absolutely loved Argentine, of course, Agustin Fernandez, and all 3 drivers put on strong displays in qualifying. And when we went into the race, well, goodness me, what a difference it was going into the race for several drivers, because of course there were some drivers who found themselves on the back foot out of qualifying and going into the race, including Delta Championship leaders of Tyler Long and Zach Hodako, who both were off-paced in qualifying with 4th and 11th in class, and that continued going through the racing. However, what we also got to see as the racing got underway, it was a very tight opening lap, and well, the top 4 were gradually allowed to push away as laps went on in the opening stint, and the fights broke out from 5th place and downwards. But strategy proved absolutely key, and most drivers, they opted over the course of the 2-slot strategy to go for the long, short approach, whereas some drivers gambled with the undercut in the middle stint, going for the long, short, long, including Micah Hendricks and Colin Achter, who made it work. However, the gamble didn't work out for the likes of Cole Trost in the Delta class. But there were also some late twists on the strategy when it came to fuel saving, including Matthew Meilleur being able to out-fuel save Wojciech Swirydowicz to steal the lead on the final stint, and Ian Bertolucci also doing the same to retake the lead of the Gamma class off of Fleet Smith. And in the Delta class, meanwhile, well, it was extremely close to seeing a 1-stop pulled away by what was Zach Saunders, who almost got it done, but was 1 lap short of the critical target to be able to perform the 1-stop, and he may have almost stolen away the win from Threadale originally. So come the end of the race of the checker flags, we are winners in the Delta class. We'll work our way upwards today, where it was in the Delta that Threadale originally took class pole and 12th overall by 600ths in qualifying, ahead of Zach Saunders, and in the end on the Classic 2-stop was able to take that win, his first win of the season class and his 9th career class win. As for the Gamma class was Ian Bertolucci, who of course pulled off that incredible pole lap in class of 3rd overall, and in the end he was constantly being chased by Fleet Smith over the entirety of the race. He lost out in the first round of the pit stops to Fleet Smith, but was able to get his own back on fuel saving in the second stint, and in the end he was able to bring home his his first class win of the season, his third of his career, by 8 tenths ahead of Smith at the finish line. And as for the victory overall in an Alpha, well, it was Matthew Meilleur who in the end may have started 4th place, but he didn't waste the opportunity to show everybody just how strong he is on strategy, being able to surprise Wojciech Swirydowicz by making it a 3-second overhaul in the final pit stop, having saved so much fuel, and in the end held on to take the win by 6 tenths of a second. His 4th win of the season and his 10th of his career. But here we are today then for the Thruxton circuit in the United Kingdom, and as we make our way into the Hampshire countryside, and of course the flag you see there representing the Hampshire county, and we do love a bit of exology here for those of you who are flag enthusiasts. Well, of course, this is a short stay in the United Kingdom to wrap up the first half of the season in terms of where we have our break week, because after our mid-season break week, we will be returning to the racing action, but it will be in the Asia and Oceania region all the way through to the end of the season, because we will return on June the 22nd for the Fuji International Speedway with our special endurance round. Our 75-minute endurance race awaits us when we do come back, and then we'll be making our way to Australia for Adelaide, for Phillip Island and Panorama. Indeed, it really will feel as though it's a tasty trio of circuits to wrap up the season down under, and well, it's not long to go until we do get to the end of season 17, but still, let's enjoy every lap as we make our way towards the conclusion. But as we come into this round, let's tell you a little bit about our host circuit as well. And of course, the Thruxton circuit, a staple of touring car racing in the United Kingdom, if not around the world in terms of knowledge. And as we can see, in terms of our tyre ratings, and indeed all of our ratings out there, and a huge thank you to the AlphaTauri Challenge Administration for this wonderful cheat sheet. As we can see, tyre stress, 4 out of 5. This circuit is one of the most aggressive with regards to tyre wear. Expect the front left tyre in particular to be absolutely bruised and abused around this circuit, given the fact we've got so many high-speed corners, where it be the opening bend of Allard at turn 1, or alternatively the run through the first of 2 chicanes at Campbell Cobb at turns 3, 4 and into Seagrave at 5, and then the fast sweeping left-hander and Noble at turn 5, and onwards towards Goodwood. Our drivers will go all the way round that long left-hander and through the Kinker 7 at Village before coming downhill in towards Church. And then it's going to the flat-out run through Brooklands and up into the club chicane at turns 10, 11 and 12 to complete lap and do it all over again. As for heavy braking, well, this has been given a 1 out of 5, and that's because we only really have one heavy braking zone at this circuit, and that is the club chicane right at the end of the lap. Although many would say, well, surely it's heavy braking going into turns 2, 3 and 4. Well, in theory, yes, but to be fair, you're not carrying as much speed as you would be out of Church going up towards the club chicane, and that's why we've got such a low rate of heavy braking. Indeed, there's very little braking involved at this circuit, apart from 2 key points. As for overtaking difficulty, well, this has received a 4 out of 5. Now, on paper, this circuit is exceptionally wide. Indeed, it owes its origins to being the perimeter road of the Royal Air Force Base known as RAF Thruxton during the Second World War, with the airfield still being used in the centre of the circuit in this modern day as part of a private and commercial venture. However, as the drivers make the way around, whilst it is a wide open circuit, the only problem is there's an optimum line out there, and to go too wide means you have to come off that optimum line, both you and your rival, so the main overtaking spots will be relegated, as we can see there on the circuit map with the blue outline for certain parts of the circuit, which are the best overtaking zones. Those overtaking opportunities will be relegated to Campbell at turn number 2, the first of the 2 chicanes, and also the club chicane right at the end of turns 10 through to 12. It's not impossible to overtake elsewhere, but it will be much more challenging. And as for the off-track difficulty, 4 out of 5, well, there's a very high chance, should a driver carry even too much speed at one of these corners, they will be making a long trip to the grass, and that's why we've had a past incident of seeing a driver make their way all the way onto what is the inside of Cobb and Seagrave, as you can see there, by one of our upside down yellow triangles. And then we also did have one driver a few years ago, or a few seasons ago, end up trying to go to Ireland as they got it wrong coming out of Church Bend. I think they were aided on their adventure, but they almost put their ticket onto a flight to make their way towards Ireland. And indeed, it would be coincidental they would have gone that way, because this circuit map is pointing northward, and well, of course, Ireland from what is the Thruxton circuit is based northwest, so therefore it was quite coincidental, you could say. But it will be 4 out of 5 here, one small mistake, and indeed a driver will go to the grass. It will take him a very long time to get back onto the circuit. But as for pit entry, it's quite easy. It is parallel to the exit of the club chicanes, therefore drivers just need to duck their way into the pit lane, and pit exit is just as easy as well. Comes out completely parallel on the inside of Allard, and it actually gives the driver a really good defensive line going up into Campbell. But indeed, a huge thank you for the cheat sheet, and as we've regaled you with all the ratings, what else do you need to know? We expect past incidents to particularly be dominant around the entry points of those braking zones, and the 2 chicanes therefore, turns 2, 3 and 4, and also turns 10 through to 12, but also we can expect a good number of incidents perhaps to occur around the chicanes. That's typically where we have seen all the drama go down, whereas the rest of the circuit is normally relatively calm. But of course, with this being a 45-minute race, we still do have a 1 mandatory tyre change rule, and let's tell you a little bit more about the race rules before we go racing. It's an open setup series. That doesn't change in the Alpha Touring Challenge. But what does change is the fact we have gone to endurance race rules today. Indeed, we sometimes swap between it for the sprint race rounds and also for our special endurance round when we come back after the mid-season break. But regardless, the race shall commence via a standing start as an addition of touring car racing, and particularly in the Alpha Touring Challenge. And drivers, they must change at least one tyre during the race. They can change it in any given pit stop. They can change more than one if they so desire, but they must change at least one. And each driver has one fast repair available should they need to use it. And the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points, and should they find themselves getting all the way up to a grand total of 30, they will be disqualified. And all race duties shall be conducted post-race. But as we make our way back to the circuit in haste, well, let's bring you up to speed with the championship standings coming into this round, and we start with the overall championships. This is the Alpha Championship, the ultimate prize up for grabs, of course, and Wojciech Swirydowicz pursuing his second crown in fever on 974 points for Beaver and D's, and whilst he may have been beaten to his first endurance race round win last time out, well, to be fair to Wojciech Swirydowicz, he is not slowing down after taking that incredible pole position by only 8 thousandths ahead of Logan McKenzie at Mid-Ohio. Well, Matthew Meilleur may have stolen the win, but nobody is stealing the championship command from him. The SRG driver then of Meilleur sits in second and moving back up there ahead of Logan McKenzie, but it is looking so tantalisingly tight between the pair, and Michael Polasek only a further 6 points behind. Indeed, the yellow flag motorsport driver cannot be counted out, albeit in the number one. He's got a lot of work to do, now having missed 2 rounds this season, and therefore he definitely is on the back foot. Should he make a single mistake from this point onwards, well, for Polasek, it really will feel as though it's going to prove costly. He wasn't in the grid last time out at Mid-Ohio, so from this point onwards, he's going to need to be absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, in 5th place, it's Fleet Smith, the leading Gamma driver at this time for B4Ds in the overall Alpha Championship, and on 750 points, you can see the breakaway there of the top 4, and he's not breaking away from Ray Tiu, who stays in his shadow 18 points behind. Next, Chris McDonald, second of the Gammas in 7th place. And we'll show you how that is changed slightly when we do come to the Gamma standing specifically shortly. With the Croc Promotions driver bringing along for the ride, John Lauzon, only 2 points between the pair of them. And McDonald's had the better overall results this season, but when it comes to the class results, it's been a little bit different. And Lauzon sitting behind right now and only 20 points ahead of Dan McFarlane as the Beaver and D's driver. But the Sim Racing Grid driver as well has put on some incredible performances, particularly at Chicago a couple of rounds ago. But can our 23 driver move his way into the top 3 of the Gammas overall today? If not, Mike De Almeida will never be too far away for Yellow Flag Motorsport, completed the top 10. That was a bit of a frustrating round for him at last time out. The pace just wasn't quite there at Mid-Ohio. Cooper Akers sits best dressed at 11th place of Pensol Super Touring ahead of Francois Schink, and behind the Sia driver or Kirby Enthusiasm Autosport as it expands to full, we can see that it's Damon Mitchell who's getting faster and faster as the season has gone on, and we're looking forward to seeing whether he can break his way into the overall Alpha top 10 before the season is done. Matthew Shepka sits behind the Crop Promotions driver, only a further grand total of what is at 38 points adrift, but in turn he is only 2 points ahead of Micah Hendricks, who completes the top 15. One of the Crop Promotions tries to round up the top 20 is Zachary Bowman, John Daniels, Ian Bertolucci, and Major Bod Savai, and Tyler Long, the only Delta driver inside that top 20. Well, the T0 Racing Ascent driver behind his sister team driver for T0 Racing Summit and Monsavai, but right now he'll want to try and get a bit deeper into that top 20 if he can, given the fact that behind him he really does have the Delta pack giving chase. First and foremost, Fred Aurigny, who moves to his highest position so far this season, 21st on 451 points, S-Shark G. He has now got ahead of Zach Hodaka for T0 Racing Ascent, and when we show you the Delta standing shortly, you'll see that Fred Aurigny really has split the leaders of the Delta class quite significantly. Nicholas Shvedska, on his debut season for the Shvedska Racing, he's been very impressive so far, and whilst he may be outside the top 20, don't count him out because he's grinding confidence and pace. We look forward to what he can do here today in the UK. Gareth McAllister, Jason Lin complete your top 25, and then we do have Zachary Leopold, Corey Lobner, Evan Clavio, Carl Trost, and Mark Donnell completed the top 30, and outside the top 30 behind the Gator Racing Giants, 12 points further to Umata Motorsports Mitchell Richmeyer, head of Lewis Gilbert, Krista Ondera, and Kurt Smith, with Jacob Simmons there in 35th place. Ran off that top 40, Austin Dunbar, Jeremy Barber, Eli Sarsak, Christian Oss, and Aaron Lahr. And not to forget those outside the top 40, those are the points to their name. We do have Spencer Clark ahead of Tyler Langenberg, but only 2 points. And it's a further 14 points to Alexander Gonzalez Green, with Benjamin Andrews, Thomas Fancock, who returns to the grid after missing a few rounds. It'll be great to see the American privateer back here today. And Jess Rakowski completing those with points down to 46th place. And all on 0 points, Jamie DeJoux, Jonathan Lantin, Jalen Kuo, Michael Bowman, Joshua Bibb, Adrian Minnesota, and Nathan Hempley. As for your class standings, when we come to the Gamma Championship, And here we can see, with regards to your Gammas, it is Fleetsmith who leads the way with an advantage that doesn't seem to be slowing down for B4Ds. Indeed, if Wojciech Swirydowicz is running away with the Alfred overall championship, then Fleetsmith right now is definitely trying to run away with the Gamma championship. But look there in second. When you consider the bonus points of the Gamma class, John Lauzon leading Chris McDonald by 2 points. The shoe is on the other foot. Well, in fact, not 2 points, 12 points there when I can do my maths correctly. I should have gone to Specsavers. But the B4Ds driver right now from Canada definitely trying to chase down the Bumblebee of Smith as quickly as he can, but he's needed to get his own stinger out there because Chris McDonald right now is not going away. There's a further, what is 8 points back to Dan McFarlane for Sim Racing Grid behind the Crop Promotions driver, with Mike Dalmeida a further, what is 35 points behind, and the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver just started to lose a little bit of touch with the top three, but to be fair, the number 6 driver could come back stronger today. Behind him, Cooper Akers of Pensov Super Touring, who has started to break away from Damon Mitchell, albeit the Crop Promotion driver has had the better results in more recent rounds, and therefore expected to go to town and look to try and close down that 6th place, if not the top 5 as of this round. Matthew Shepker for Sia sits in 8th, head of Yellow Flag Motorsports, Zachary Bowman, with John Daniels completing the Gamma top 10 there for TCR Racing Summit. In Bertolucci, with that very impressive performance last time out, has moved his way to 11th. How far can the Brazilian go this season for the Sim Racing Grid? With Major Monsvai, Nicholas Shvedska, Zachary Leopold, and Alexander Gonzalez Green completing the Gamma standings. As your Deltas, well, here we can see leading the way, Ty Long for T0 Racer Ascent, but note the fact there is now a fork in the road for T0 Racer Ascent. It was previously a 1-2 for Long and Zach Hodako, but now in second place for Awarigi for SRG, and we may be seeing him come into his final form this season, coming into this round after that incredible victory at Mid-Ohio. Zach Hodako slips to third for T0 Racer Ascent. It really was not a happy day for him last time out, where 9th place finish really not matches finishes of previous rounds, whereas Ty Long was able to recover somewhat to a 5th place finish, but both of the T0 Racer Ascent drivers really struggling at Mid-Ohio. But will the struggle stay with them today? We will see it. Gareth McAllister sits 4th for Umata Motorsport, the quickest Delta driver in the practice session here at Thruxton. Could we see him potentially launch his way forward? And the Australian driver definitely looking quick at different points of the season. Jason In, ever consistent. The Gator Racing driver sits in 5th there on 334 points, 20 ahead of Corey Lobner, with Evan Clavio, Carl Trost, Mark Donnell and Mitchell Richmar completing your top 10, albeit noting now the fact we do have quite a sizable split from what is Corey Lobner to Evan Clavio, almost the best part of 50 points, and then subsequently we do have the fight from 7th through to 10th place really taking priority. Albeit Lewis Gilbert would like to become a part of that in 11th place at Gator Racing. He's only 5 points ahead, however. Kurt Smith at B4Ds, and it's Christoph Ondera, who's not been on the grid in the previous round and not here today, sadly, for Junkie the Truck Electronicas. We hope to see him back in the near future, because indeed he's been a bit of a star in the Delta class so far. Now we have Austin Dunbar and Jeremy Barber completing that top 15. Behind the Umata Motorsport driver, it's Eli Sussak, Christian Ost, Aaron Lars, Spencer Clark and Tyler Langenberg completing your top 20. And outside that top 20, in at 21st place, it's Benjamin Andrews, ahead of Thomas Fancock and Jess Rakowski. And then from the T0 Racing Summit driver, it's Jamie Deshoe in 24th, ahead of Jonathan Lantin, Jalen Kuo, Michael Bowman, Joshua Bibb, Angel Minnesota, and Nathan Hempley. As your team's championship standings, we start off with the overall team's championship, and there's only one name that leads the way. Beaver D's running away right now, and their advantage almost at 700 points at this point in time. Can anybody slow them down? Because it does seem as though it's the fight for second that's taking priority between Crop Promotions, who are ahead of Pennzoil Super Touring, but only 6 points, and it's a further 20 points to Yellow Flag Motorsport, with SRG in 5th, and right now they'd like a piece of the pie there in the battle for second. However, Kirby Enthusiasm Motorsport are never too far away, and they're not quite saying see ya to the see ya team, as Sim Racing Grid following our 6th place runners, only 5 points behind, and it's a further what is approximately 80 points there to T0 Racers, in 8th place, and then B4Ds are only a further 60 or so points behind, in fact 68 to be precise, and it's a further 13 points to T0 Racers Ascent. So right now, it really seems as though second through to 10th, it's anybody's game. And then you do have on equal points for length, Umata Motorsport and Gator Racing, head of Problem Child Motorsport and Junkie the Truck Electronicas, and yet score any points, Breakfast for Dinner, Penguin Mafia and Waifu no Laifu. But as the Delta Teams Championship, where this only considers Delta class drivers within respective teams, with T0 Racers Ascent are definitely leading the way quite comfortably, and it's the fight for second between Umata Motorsport and Gator Racing. It's taking priority at this time. And the two teams separated by only 6 points. SRG sitting 4th ahead of Sim Racing Grid to complete that top 5. And it's B4D's only 2 points ahead of Prom Child Motorsport, with a further 5 points to Junkie the Truck Electronicas. And TCR Racing Summit complete the field on 18 points. But that is how the standings stand coming into this round. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we now pick up the story here at Thruxton, as it's time to go into qualifying. 10 minutes, 1 out lap plus 2 flying laps. Who's going to be on pole position? Let's find out here as we get underway. And so as our drivers start to tiptoe their way out of the pit lane, keeping in mind, of course, the speed of this lap, well, it is going to be a very quick qualifying session for many a driver. But, of course, with a quick lap out there, they need to get it absolutely right. Now, the big question always is, how important will qualifying be? Well, here at Thruxton, again, what you saw on the cheat sheet earlier on, we are expecting the qualifying will prove very valuable. However, this is one of those races whereby it's only a 45-minute long race. It's not quite an hour. So tyre management is going to be key here today, because whilst you do have the one mandatory tyre change, you ideally want to only be changing those front tyres wherever possible. And we have had a bit of information fed to us in the build-up to this round with regards to pit strategy and also the time taken to be able to put fuel and also new tyres in the car. We're not going to go through that now because let's focus on qualified. But a huge thank you to the AlphaTauri Change administration team for providing us that information. It just helps us narrow in on a bit more of the detail when it comes to pit stops. But again, for our drivers right now, they won't be thinking about saving tyres. They'll be thinking about getting those tyres warmed up and going full pelt around here on a light car. And indeed, we'll see some of the fastest laps in terms of average lap speed that we will see all season long around this Thruxton circuit. And as we mentioned earlier on, the circuit you see here owes its history to the perimeter roads of RAF Thruxton. Indeed, a very popular circuit and a circuit that's quite underestimated and one of the fastest in the world, not just in the United Kingdom, as Michael Polisek uses all the curb and plenty more going through Church. And on the wing on a prayer, he'll be hoping to try and put himself in pole position today as he returns to the racing after missing it in mid-Ohio. But as Swirydowicz originally heads onto his first flying lap, well, he's definitely going to be one of those drivers to watch out for as well, in the fact that after that monster lap for pole position at mid-Ohio and the win in the end, well, he'll be hoping he can maintain that rhythm and make sure this man, Ty Long, has no means of coming back at him. But speaking of coming back to the grid today, here is Thomas Fancock back once again after missing the last few rounds. Good to see him back in the Liquid Moly at a sponsored Honda Civic Type R, that FK8 and the 132. And we look forward to seeing what the privateer from the USA can do here, although he won't be taking that lap on the board as he runs wide coming out to Seagrave and in towards Noble he goes, but he'll only have one lap available to him now, so he's going to have to do it all on a single lap. And that's the pressure of having only 2 flying laps in a qualifying session. It means you cannot afford mistakes, because if you throw away your banker, then you've got to choose whether your second lap is a banker or whether it's a full pace lap. So speaking of full pace right now, we'll get on board with other drivers shortly for a full pace lap. And I think we are going to be making our way to John Daniels today as the TCR Rated Summit driver makes his way up towards the club chicane. Onto the brakes he goes as he weaves his way through. Well, one of the most eager to get out there. I can't blame him for it. Let's jump on board with him as he takes us around for a flying lap, ladies and gentlemen. So here he goes. He roars his way up towards turn number 1 as he does so going into Allards. And as he does, just tap the brakes and, well, in 5th gear, holding his line as he rolls his way all the way up now towards turn number 2. And getting ready to break his way into the chicane. Starting with Campbell, braking about 100 meters from corner apex all the way down to 2nd gear. Mount the curve as much as possible, get it into the middle of the road to open up Cobb. And now bring the car over a bit left in order to open up Seagrave. Mounting those curves as much as possible and now making his way up towards Noble. That's the first critical part of the lap done. And now onwards he goes in towards the fast left hand that's completely blind as you turn in. You don't actually get to see the apex until you've actually hit the corner. And now rolling his way through Goodwood here. And as he does so, balancing, lift off, oversteer. As he makes his way on around the rear of the car, jutting up the rear right tyre coming off of the tarmac. And as he now makes his way through Village, you've got to pin the throttle as much as possible as he heads down towards Church. And as he does so here, rolling his way through the right-hander and goes a little bit wide of the apex curve there. That's going to cost him a couple of attempts in the run all the way up towards Club. Here he goes up through Brooklands then, completely flat out here. Top gear in the Honda. As he looks to his left-hand side, it'll be for his brake mark, and he'll be braking at about 200 metres from corner apex. It's so far away the corner, and then suddenly it just hits you like that. Holding 3rd gear as he hops and skips his way through. Down to 2nd, in fact, he hits turn 11. And now towards the timeline he goes. It's been a smooth lap from Daniels. It's been absolutely on the limit. But where's this going to put him in terms of his lap time? It's a 15.504, and I think he'll be gutted about that mistake he made coming on through what was the run of Goodwood into Village and then Church. It's costing quite a bit of time as Fleet Smith takes the provisional pole so far in Gamma, but overall as this man crossed the line, it's Michael Polisek on a 14.012, a 10th quicker than Matthew Meilleur, and well, Zachary Leopold a 14.273. The Pennzoil Super Touring drive putting a monster lap together as John Lauzon goes even quicker. Those Gamma times are tumbling right now. Delta as well. It's Gareth McAllister, where he was looking very impressive in practice, and the UMAT Motorsport driver is matching that in qualified here. Tyler Long, meanwhile, he finds his way to 14th as Mike Almeida goes 10th off camera. We've got a few more laps coming from some drivers at the moment. Major on Savai heads towards the line as Wojciech Swirydowicz, championship leader overall, does a 14.130. And Monterey across the line, he currently is 11th in Gamma, 19th overall, and he jumps to 14th from what is now 10th in the Gamma class. And this Gamma class is getting so tight there, constantly pushing towards the top 10 as Micah Hendricks goes to 9th. And, well, to be fair to the Gator Racing driver, expect wherever he qualifies, he won't be there for long. He will be going up through the field very quickly. Well, he settles for 9th here today. Well, it's the Croc Promotions car, I should say. Always getting mixed up with Gator Racing. I don't know why. I do apologise. First, he makes his way on around. We make a complete crock of it, you could say. Will rolls his way onwards and up towards a Noble, but he'll be called. Well, in fact, no, he won't be calling down here. He's on another flying lap. Is Hendricks? Can he make his way all the way up towards the front row? We'll have to wait and see what he can do here as he heads on around. As meanwhile, Matthew Shepka makes his way across the timeline off camera. There he is. The senior driver goes 17th with a 15.040. Ian Bertolucci, no lap set here. He has invalidated both laps. So Bertolucci will be starting from the back of the grid, where he's gone from hero of Mid-Ohio to 0 here at Thruxton. He's delivered 0 valid laps. And we'll have to wait and see what he can do when it comes to the race. And Swirydowicz originally as well invalidated both laps. So originally, and Bertolucci, the two superstars are qualified in Gamma and Delta in what was at Mid-Ohio, have completely got it wrong today. And Hendricks heads towards the line. And well, that looked to be very aggressive on the cut there of the club chicane. But what's it going to be as he comes to timer? And the answer is going to be, it's going to be an invalidated lap for Hendricks. So he will not go any higher than 9th place. He risked it all in the end and it did not work out. But that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. All drivers have set times or they've completed their allowed laps. And what we can see is that Michael Polisek has taken pole position. We may have missed Mid-Ohio, but the pace has not left him, taking pole by a 10th for the end over Matthew Meilleur. And then it will be Wojciech Swirydowicz who completes the top 3 of Alpha drivers. And then we do have John Malzahn who starts 4th, the Gamma driver who will be on that second row of the grid. He'll be pleased as punch for that, no doubt. Having got that Gamma pole in the end by only what was 3.5 hundredths ahead of Zachary Leopold and Fleet Smith, a further 2 attempts behind, starting 6th place. Third of the Gammas, just ahead of Zachary Bowman and Chris McDonald. Mike Hendricks is going to be 9th. Damon Mitchell, another impressive performance from him in qualified, taking 10th place. Expected to be fighting for the Gamma podium today. But what about the Delta class? Well, Gareth McAllister is a driver who's really set the time tower light, 40th place overall. That is going to be Delta pole, and it is Delta pole in the end by 4 tenths ahead of Tyler Long almost. He'll be starting 18th as Hendricks there, been a bit too aggressive with the curb exchange coming through club, but showing you what happens when you do get it a bit wrong as he heads towards the timeline and decides to park up. But as he does so, well, I think he's going to get a practice start in. In fact, no, he's not going to. And well, we did see what was 3rd place in Delta, 20th overall for Corey Lobner. So another good qualified performance from him. It is number 41 Audi. And well, Corey definitely has had some ups and downs in qualifying, but a bit of an up today. But the big shocks out there all the way through the field. The first perhaps big one being a bit of a shock for John Daniels, only 24th in the end, 13th in Gamma. And well, that second lap definitely was not a happy lap, his fast lap. And well, he's now got all the work to do. He is the lowest placed Gamma who has set a time. And of course, Ian Bertolucci will be starting right at the back of the field, potentially in 31st place and not 30th, for the simple reason he did not get a valid lap together. And on that similar note, third hour originally, Delta Drive will be starting for the back with no valid lap set. But we've also got some surprises. Carl Trost down in 28th. That translates into 8th for the Deltas. And well, the number 21 driver really has not been having fun in qualifying this season so far. He's had either greatness, as we saw at Chicago, it's just not working out. And Trost has got a lot of work to do, but also noticing that Francois Schink all the way down in 26th, his weakest qualifying performance of the season, and Ray Tew, 19th at best. Well, we've got some Alpha drivers there who are being caught out by the Deltas and the Gammas, and it'll be interesting to see how exactly it goes down and how well they can fight their way through the field. And Logan McKinsey, let's not ignore him, 13th. It's not the biggest shock in the world, but it still will be a shock to the senses for him because that's not where you want to start, particularly given the fact he's right in the thick of the hunt for the championship crown this season. But as we do, just wait a further minute, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's qualifying session 2 be completed, and that is just because we have got the full 10 minutes running over. Well, of course, it's going to be a very interesting round, and if you're sat there right now thinking to yourself, I might need a quick bathroom break as this broadcast goes into the race, alternatively, I'm feeling a bit thirsty, or I may need a snack, go do it now, because very shortly we'll be making our way to the grid, and once we do, and we walk you through that grid, we'll be seeing those lights going on, and well, you won't want to miss a single second of round number 8 of the Alpha Touring Challenge Season 17, because so far this season has been absolutely incredible. We have seen candidates for moves of the series, not just move of the season. We have seen some incredible action, no doubt about it, and I suspect we're going to see plenty more of it here. And in terms of our weather for today, we do have relatively pleasant conditions. We're not expecting that much rain, if any at all. In fact, I don't think we are expecting any rain, and we've got a 96 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature, 75 degrees Fahrenheit ambient temperature. It's a nice day, although I get the feeling this circuit is going to get hot. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's turn up the heat. It's time to go race news. Qualifying is complete, but who exactly will be taking victory over the course of the race distance? Well, let's find out as we make our way to the grid for round 8 of 12. And as all our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll all line up for a one and only race today. Taking pole position for round 8 of the championship, it is going to be none other than Michael Polasek, who missed Mid-Ohio, but he hasn't missed a chance to be back right on that front row. The Yellow Flag Motorsport driver taking pole position 1 minute 14.012, and in the end being joined on that front row by SRG's Matthew Meilleur, a 10th behind. But it's been very interesting this season because where Polasek has normally been on the front row, Meilleur has joined him here. They have been a bit of a partnership on that front row. They're not teammates, but it shows you how much Meilleur really wants that crown himself. Behind the Canadian, it'll be Beaver Deez's Wojciech Swirydowicz, the championship leader, who was only 16 thousandths behind the front row, but in turn it was a grand total of a 10th and a 100th ahead of John Lauzon, the Gamma pole sitter, his teammate, and hopefully you won't see the two of them come to blows, unlike at Chicago. Then we do see on row number 3 the second and third Gamma starters of Zachary Leopold for Pencil Super Touring, and also their Fleet Smith for B4Ds, and then between 2 attempts from them, it was a further half attempt to Zachary Bowman for Yellow Flag Motorsport, who starts in 7th place. Chris McDonald, Croc Promotions driver in the 85, starts 8th, and then we do come back to the theme of an Alpha driver in the form of Micah Hendricks, who didn't have the best of second laps in qualifying, so the Croc Promotions driver's got some work to do. And Damon Mitchell, his teammate, we join him on that 5th row to complete the top 10. And keep your eyes out for Damon. I suspect he's going to be going for that podium very quickly in this race. But outside the top 10, starting in 11th place, it will be Mike Delmeida, the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver in the company, and Nicholas Shredsker. The Shredsker racing driver once again impressed in qualifying, looking to chase down the top 5 in Gamma today. Logan McKenzie starts off your 7th row for Pensol Super Touring, but look who joins him on that row. It's Delta pole sitter Gareth McAllister for UMAT Motorsport with a season best overall qualifying performance, and he'll be absolutely pleased as punch with that. Cooper Akers starts 15th for Pencil Super Touring, making an all 8th Gamma row alongside Major Monster for TCR Racing Summit. And then we do see as Matthew Shepka started 17th, a bit down in his previous qualifying performances, but expected to fight forward. And Tyler Long for TCR Racer Ascent, second in Delta. It's a much better qualifying points compared to last time out. However, he's still got to find some pace versus the pole sitter. It's not the way he's wanted it to go. Ray Tew starts 19th for Beaver and D's ahead of Corey Lobno, who completes your top 20, and we're 3rd in Delta. And outside which your top 20. 21st, it's Dan McFarlane for Sim Racing Grid. That's a little bit of a surprise, though. We didn't really talk about that. McFarlane looking a bit weaker here at Thruxton. I don't think he enjoys the circuit as much as street circuits, which normally have been his cup of tea this season. And the Sim Racing Grid driver joined by his teammate of Evan Clavier on that 11th row, the only driver to be in the instance room after the race. Indeed, picked up a penalty point for what was a bit of a push to pass. However, didn't lose any results as a result of it. But the Sim Racing Grid driver will be then followed up by Gator Races Jason Lynn on row 12, and John Daniels joins him there. 24th for TCR Races Summit was at Hidako 25th. TCR Racer Ascent ahead of Francois Schinck for Kirby Enthusiasm Autosport. He's going to need a lot more enthusiasm than that if he wants to go further up the field. I can tell you that. With Jeremy Barber of UMAT Motorsport on row 14 ahead of Carl Trost for TCR Racer Ascent. And there'll be Thomas Fancock 29th on his return to the grid ahead of Ian Bertolucci, the first of 2 drivers not to set a valid time. He was the Sim Racing Grid driver, did not, so he starts 30th and completing that starting order in 31st place with no lap set. But he's going to be on a mission to carve his way through the field. And it's going to be third average for SRG, who starts 31st. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, the grid is set. We are ready to go. And, well, the lights are going on for the 1-0 time today. And where it's going to be 5 red lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's lights out, away we go here for a 1-0 race at the Thruxton circuit. But as they charge their way down towards turn 1, a good start there from Michael Polasek. And as he heads in towards Alov Ben, doing exactly what he needs to do, defending as he leads his way up in towards turn 2. But you see Matthew Meilleur immediately go to the attack here as they head into the braking zone. Man looking up the inside, but he's a bit too far back there to go for the move. Behind, John Lauzon's had the better start for the Gammas, getting ahead there of several drivers, including none other than what is Fleet Smith. But as they roll the way onwards, he was under attack early on, but Lauzon able to get it together and roll all the way through the corners right now. Side by side, door to door they go. David Mitchell gets to ground, already up into 8th place as he goes too wide. We're having a couple of drives involved in a bit of an instant. Evan Clavier and Jason Lynn going through the opening 4 corners. Therefore, come back to that shortly. But meanwhile, David Mitchell and Zachary Bowman side by side here as they make the way all the way round Goodwood. And you see the yellow flag Motorsport Honda and Bowman just hold the inside line at the moment as the leaders start to go single file to make the way away. Well, David Mitchell still on the outside there for the Croc Promotions team. But can he get it done here? Going all the way through turn number 8. And the answer is no. And on the outside, he's not going to be able to get a switch back in. Now, meanwhile, just behind Mike Almeida fighting side by side with Nicholas Schwedska. But look who's found to the outside, into the inside. It'll be the outside of the initial corner, but then it'll be the inside chicane. That's going to be Logan McKenzie trying to go for the double. He gets one of them in the end, and Major on Zwei follows McKenzie on through. But you can see that Mike Almeida says, no, Major, you're not going to be coming through that quick. And as they fall the way out, all right, now on towards that timing line they go. 1 lap complete, plenty more to come. And Michael Poddleset leads ahead of Meilleur, followed by Swirydowicz. Then it's your Gabba leader of Lauzon ahead of Leopold, followed by Smith. That's top 3 in Gabba, followed by Bowman, Mitchell, McDonald, Schwedska. That's your top 10. And then it's Logan McKenzie, best dressed in 11th place, and gained 2 places since where he started. Delta leader, it's still your pole sitter of Gareth McAllister, 14th overall, not gaining or losing any places. A solid start for the UMAT Motorsport driver. And looking behind there, you can see Tyler Long and Corey Lobner close together. And in fact, right now, the CFR privateer Lobner going on the attack here, trying to find a way past Long, although he's a bit further back coming out of Seagrave. There wasn't quite the line he wanted, but I think Lobner here having to go more defensive than offensive. He's got Francois Sheik looking for a move on him, and there is Sheik right now in the sea. Machine on the inside as they come through Goodwood Bend, and well, by the time they get to Village, that is going to be a place swapped around between the two of them, perhaps to be expected. But Lobner right now will be using Francois Sheik as a bit of a pace car. Further back, for now originally, we started 31st. He's already up to 25th place. He's had a rapid start as originally, and now attacking at Trost here, and well, as he comes on throws, that Hidako trying to follow him, and we see Fancock and also Barber there for the ride, but Evan Clavier and Jason a little bit further back, and we have lost Micah Hendricks on this grid. He did not start the race due to a technical issue with the car, and the 73 driver sadly out of the race before we even got started. But meanwhile, it's elbows out there between McAllister and Shepka. Shepka trying to squeeze his way through, coming out to Club, going on to lap 3. He'll get that done quite quickly, and in the end, Gareth McAllister right now, he doesn't want to lose any overall places, because remember, for the uninitiated, drive score points primarily on their overall finishing positions. Therefore, you're encouraged to battle everybody, but in the Gamma and Delta classes, they do get bonus points for podium spots, and in the case of the endurance race round, it's 8 for first, 4 for second, and 2 for third. We halve it for each sprint race, and that way it adds up to the same total over the course of either round type. But as Francois Sheik there makes sure to cover of Corey Lobner, almost takes himself to the grass in doing so. Well, Lobner will see that right now, but the problem is he's got Tyler Long behind him. In fact, he has found his way past Tyler Long. Want to get a replay of that in due course, but they have swapped now for second place in the Delta class with John Daniels following suit. Daniels looking to get involved sooner rather than later, but the racing is calming down a little bit, which we would expect. Oh, a bit of a trip to the grass there. That's the time being dipped wide for Dan McFarlane as he brings it back onto the road and does so in style. But right now, the Sim Racing Grid Trial SRG, definitely I think feeling as though if he keeps making that mistake, and once you make that mistake once here at Thruxton, you are bound to start thinking you're going to repeat it. This really is one of those circuits whereby you need to find a rhythm, go out of that rhythm, and suddenly you lose all your flow, and it could all go wrong as Tyler Long looks to try and right the wrong of earlier of losing that place to Lobner. Lobner goes defensive, but he loses out there, and Long gets that done. Evan Clavio, meanwhile, he makes his way ahead there of Jeremy Barber, making another move. So Clavio on the hunt now. His next target will be Fancock, who's moved up to 7th in the Delta class. But Carl Trost looking down the outside there, or is he? No, in fact, he's trying to defend versus Fred originally, but in the end finds that Hidako swaps the place with him, so his teammate for TCR Racing takes the place as well. So Trost losing 2 places after gaining so many places at the start of this race. He's lost out as Evan Clavio up the inside of Fancock, another place gain, and Clavio right now, he's taking these places as if he's eaten them for breakfast. He's absolutely flying his way through. And well, to be fair, that difficult start, that instant we believe with Jason Lynn, which we are going to get a replay of shortly, are coming through what was Campbell Cobb and Seagrave. But right now for Clavio, he's making amends very quickly. At this rate, I wouldn't be surprised he's in the Delta top 5 before the end of the opening 15 minutes. But coming back to the Gamma leaders, and well, John Lauzon leads the way still. Well, with Zachary Leopold staying close by him, we are seeing these two Hondas starting to break away a little bit. The Honda is proving to be perhaps one of the stronger cars this season, but that's Zachary Leopold tucking up the inside. He'll take lead of the Gamma class just like that. But I think there John was quite complacent about that. I think he was feeling as though, yep, you can have that. I'm not too bothered. I'll just fight you into the next sequence of corners. He's going to look around the outside of Allard, as which you can see Leopold there going absolutely as defensive as humanly possible. And we ride on ball with Lauzon as he looks up the inside in towards turn number 2. As he heads in towards the braking zone here, goes all in and just tries to get his nose in. However, remember, it's right into left into right hand, so therefore he's got to try and go around the outside, but Lauzon backs off, goes to the switchback instead. He wants a better run here, going up towards Noble. Smart move from Lauzon as Leopold goes a little bit wide, and well, that's going to help him out here in the long term, but Leopold covers him off there literally at the last possible moment before Lauzon could start to get his nose around the outside. So the Penzol Super Touring drive being a bit cheeky there, and I think John will be grinning at that one, thinking, right, it's on. If you want it, Zach, I'm going to bring it to you. And as they make the way out, well, hits the rev limiter there as Lauzon, but I think he was more scared of running wide, going through Village and in towards Church he goes. But definitely right now, Lauzon pushing it to a limit. He wants that place back, but Leopold is definitely getting his elbows out there to make sure he doesn't lose it easily. But as they roar the way onwards, we'll be one bit further back, Ray to you. Onto the back of Dan McFarlane, and McFarlane's fall down the order, continue slightly, albeit we can see Tyler along in the rear of the picture battling with Francois Schink, getting a place back off of Schink there after being passed. Well, these two fighting hard, and we can see John Dayers, Corey Lobman, Ian Bertolucci all queuing up behind. But here they go into that braking zone. Will we see a change this time? No, but what we can see is that Ian Bertolucci started in 30th place. He's moved up into 23rd as well, so making some good progress. As we got Thomas Fancock battling with Jason Lynn. Lynn tries to look up the inside. He's going to get in here, and Fancock outbreaks himself on that outside line. So easy to pick up the dirt and dust on that outside line coming into the club. And well, once you do, suddenly you lose a lot of momentum. And once you compromise the first part of the chicane, you compromise all three corners. As we do see there, Jerry Barber up the inside to Allard. And it will put Fancock to the back of the field, running 30th at the moment. And he is the last of the runners, given the retirement of Hendricks right at the start of the race, a non-start for him on the grid. But as we do see John Lauzon now starting to feel the pressure of Fleet Smith and Zachary Bowman behind. But we also do see Ray Tew passing Dan McFarlane. They swap places, and I think McFarlane letting that one go. Although that car at McFarlane does not look happy right now. I wonder what's happened there. But we'll have to put that fault for aside for a brief moment, because dialing it in, we can see the Senior machine. Well, Francois Schink now battling with Ian Bertolucci, and well, Bertolucci definitely digging it as much as possible, and well, understandably at this point in time, Schink just does not seem to be very happy here today. I wonder if it's the setup of the car. They haven't got something right there at Sia, because you can see he's just not able to put that much pressure onto the Gabriel Delta drives in front. And we're talking about Francois Schink here, the man who normally, if he's got a car under him that's strong, he really does go full attack, and he's absolutely brilliant in his moves. But right now, it's definitely not working out for him as he rolls his way on through. Indeed, on his heyday, you could say he's a bit of a Tom Ingram with the way he picks his way through the field, but not quite so here. I don't think he's feeling pointsy today, as meanwhile here comes Alf Ridgely up the inside, and as we change position, as meanwhile Lobner letting Bertolucci go there in towards Allard, and well, Corey Lobner's going to lose out even more here. In fact, I wonder if he's burning a slowdown for track limits at the club chicane, because he's lost a huge amount of pace, and I would expect Corey to be giving up places willingly, but as they make the way out through, that turns 2, 3 to 4, well, right now they're all back in the long conga line once again, and all these drivers definitely keeping their heads down as Chris McDonald further up the road, holding on tonight, but Logan McKenzie is there for close company. And McKenzie is not leaving him alone any time at all. But with that, we are going to leave your live pictures for a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, and take a look back in time at some of the big moments of the start of the race, including how they all went racing. Now, as we did get the green flag to go, 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 well, Michael Poller sat there right at the front, looking very happy with that pole position, and he got the best start of everybody in the run towards turn number 1. Now, it is worth noticing that Meilleur in the end really did try to come at him going through Allard, but it didn't quite work out. John Lauzon as well had a good start there for Beaver and D's, shadowing his teammate Wojciech Swirydowicz. So the battle was really behind between Leopold, Bowman and Smith, as they all made the way up towards Cobb for the first time. But what exactly happened to Jason Lynn and Evan Clavio under braking here, and as they came in, well, Lynn on the inside there, taking it nice and easy. Evan Clavio, meanwhile, making his way through, and a bit of a tap there. That was with Francois Schink, the centre round, and Jason Lynn tried to go around the outside of the situation, but unfortunately, Evan Clavio rolled onto his path, and that's what happened. But they were able to go racing immediately after. So well done to them both for recovering and not seeing it become a bit of a grandiose incident. We also did have this on lap number 2. And this was Nicholas Shvedsko, I think, battling at the time with Logan McKenzie. He was running in 10th place, and as he made his way through the right-hander there of Goodwood, went wide and continued to go wide, as we saw in the rear of the picture as well. That was, I believe, Major Monsivai also get it wrong, and well, as a result, both drivers there just taking a little bit of grass with them, but nothing too bad about it in reality. But we also got to see some brilliant battling, including this between Corey Lobner and Tyler Long on lap number 3. This was too wide between the pair coming through turns 2, 3 and 4, and in the end able to try and go round the outside of Tyler, who in the end went a bit too high on the apex curb, but he came off the corner, coming through Cobb and in towards Seagrave, where in the end just started to lose that a little bit later on as they battled the way into Noble. And it was going to be Tyler Long who would look for that counter-attack. And in the end, when did he get it? And the answer is, it took him a little bit longer. And well, I think it took him all the way up towards Club in the end, but brilliant battling up between them, as we did then see the return move for Tai Long. And this was a bit later. It was cut off to Club corner, where it's all about being brave as much as possible on the brakes. And went all into the TCR Racer Ascent driver and got it done as Lobner there having a little bit of a squirm under the brakes. I think the rear of the car just not wanted to settle down the way he wanted it to, but we also did see what was a bit of a change between Wojciech Swirydowicz and Matthew Meilleur, and this was in the battle for, I believe, second place. Now, what exactly happened here? Meilleur getting it a bit, well, in fact, going slowly there, and as he made his way through, I wonder if he had to serve a small slowdown, but suddenly Swirydowicz stealing that second place away for him. So we didn't quite catch that the first time around or notice it, but that's a change for second, and Michael Potter able to pull away to a degree. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we go back to your live racing. As we do, coming back, still plenty more racing action to come from Thruxton, no doubt about it. We're on to lap number, I believe, 10 now, and as the drivers make the way around, well, David Mitchell looking for a potential move there. In fact, no, swapping places with his teammate for crop promotions of Chris McDonald. So McDonald in the end being allowed through, and I think Mitchell decided, you know what, there's no point fighting, which one of us is the quicker at this time, and they've made a call, and instead he will be rear gunner now, and make sure that Nicholas Shvedska and also Major Monsavai and other drivers cannot come through. And well, that's definitely going to be all about the action between them now as they roll the way onwards, but we'll have to see what the game plan is going to be between the crop promotions drivers. I think there's a bit of smarts being used here, but how smart and how much will it pay off for them, that we will wait to see. And, well, I do feel a little bit for Major Monsivice in the fact as he was racing around here in the Thruxton 4 hours. I do believe he did get called out on the iRacing official broadcast with surname being butchered. And I've actually learned it is Monsivice, not Monsivice. So, therefore, we're going to make sure we get that a bit correct going for there. So, apologies, Major, if we've been saying your name incorrectly for quite some time. But hopefully we do get it right from this point onwards. But, meanwhile, as we do look to David Mitchell and Nicholas Shvedska, well, here comes Shvedska up the inside. And as he goes around the braking, well, Shvedska's going to go all in the end. He does get it just stopped in time. Lovely move there for Nicholas Shvedska. David Mitchell, I think, playing strategy now, not when to fight it too hard, thinking about the fuel later on in the race, but also thinking about the fact that those tyres are going to be really taking a beating. And given it's only one tyre being changed, well, in terms of the amount of time that is spent in the pit lane to be changing those tyres, well, the tyres are changed on an axle, so therefore one tyre being changed versus two tyres being changed on the same axle, there's very little difference in it. It is 4 tenths per second at most. It's if you change the tyres across both axles, then suddenly you're almost doubling at that stationary time from 22.5 seconds all the way up to 42.7 seconds. Of course, it's a little bit shorter because there's time in there for putting the car up onto the jacks. So the idea really is, do you change the one or do you change the two front tyres? I suspect it's only going to be the one front tyre here for those who really want to maximise their time, and it will be that front left tyre that will be aching somewhat. But those who do change both front tyres, I suspect will gain a bit of a pace advantage towards the end of the race. Of course, fuel is also a big factor. We do only run a 25 litre fuel tank in our TCR machines for this series, so therefore they won't be spending more. And then approximately around about 17 seconds stationary when it comes to putting that fuel in the car. So that's why you always will typically see all that fuel going in plus the tyre change. It almost works out. And, well, that's might be on me to continue to follow Major Monsivice as they come over through. And goodness me, I'm going to end up butchering his surname now that I've made myself cognizant of it. It's always one of those things. Well, let's make ourselves cognizant of something else that's going on. And that is Francois Schenk here being passed by Evan Clavio. As Clavio moves up another position. And, well, he's picked his way past 2 drivers over the course of this lap. He's also picked his way past Zach Hodaka as well, so he is looking absolutely rapid right now, is Evan Clavio. And, well, I would understand the fact that he's going hunting after Corey Lobner for 4th place in Delta at this rate. Now, I think Clavio here definitely trying to make amends from the start of the race. He did look quite confident in qualifying. He started in 4th place in the Delta and qualified, so he wants those places back. But Swirydowicz originally as well, he stormed his way up into 3rd place in the Delta class. And, well, the 119 driver onto John Daniel shortly. And if he can find a way through, I think he'll be very happy with that in terms of being able to make another move for 21st place. And the entire long is only 2 seconds up the road. You can see him there off in the distance. So right now, Swirydowicz originally definitely keeping his head to the ground. But as this race definitely calms down for a bit, well, not if your name is Swirydowicz originally, getting ready to go on the attack. But how can he do it for S-Shark G? Well, it won't be the run all the way up to club. Surely this time he's a bit too far back here as he comes up through Brooklands. Although never say never, to be fair. If he thinks he's got the confidence of the brakes, he'll go for it. And indeed, those brakes are only really feeling the wear at this particular zone at the circuit. But as he hops and bounces his way over the curb, a very strong run through there. Just a little bit of understeer as he transitions from turns 11 to 12, and that cost him the time. It also mounted those curbs so high in the end, I think really just losing control of the car. Not literally to the point of going spinning around, but in the end really become a bit of a passenger for a brief moment. But look at the pressure that Daniels is feeding there. Runs wide through Allard, and well, when you do that, you lose some momentum uphill here in towards Campbell. And as he comes on through, Corbin in towards Seagrave, I think it's only going to be more pressure building here. And well, Swirydowicz originally are definitely right now looking to be the quicker driver in his Audi as he's looking out to the outside of Noble already, and Daniel's been looking at his mirrors at this point thinking, where is he? As they come on around, but Ridgey definitely becoming a bit of a nuisance in this battle. As we leave the onboard camera for a brief moment, what exactly is happening right towards the front of the field, we'll find out shortly, because we're staying here with Ridgey at the moment, getting a very good run there off of Goodwood. Here he comes down in towards Church, and I don't think you could get any closer than this, otherwise he would be tapping the rear of his rival. But as Ryder Boy, you see, falls back there, I think too close too soon, and the problem is he needs to time this right. If he times it right, he'll be able to get the run here coming up towards club, but if he times it wrong like he's done so here, the gap suddenly reopens to 3 tenths, and he's not able to find a way in. But we find a way now to make our way all the way out to the front of the field. And Michael Polosek, the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver, 1.6 seconds away ahead of Swirydowicz and Meilleur. It's a further 1.6 seconds behind. So it's equidistant between our top 3. But it does seem as though Polosek right now controlling this race. And well, the only change we've seen between the trio is the fact that Swirydowicz was able to get ahead of Meilleur, and that was with Meilleur taking a bit of a slowdown through the turn 2 through to 4 chicane. We're not quite sure the reason why, but we believe it may have been for track limits. Zachary Leopold, the Pencil Super Touring driver, running as your Gamma lead at the moment. He has found his way past John Lauzon. That has happened off camera, and unfortunately we can't get the replay of that, but we have seen the change of the Gamma leader. In fact, we saw it earlier on. My apologies, I'll get a bit forgetful here, and it was Lauzon not putting up too much of a fight, coming up in towards the club chicane about 6 laps ago. Zachary Leopold right now definitely just trying to maintain that gap. But I expect Lauzon is playing the game of just manage the race and take it nice and easy. And it might be a good call to do so if you think strategically get ahead. And remember, 45-minute race, therefore we are expecting most likely only 1 pit stop in this one. And well, there will be a bit of fuel saving involved to make sure drivers can get to the end of the race unscathed on fuel capacity. And I think that's why we might be seeing some drivers just back it off a little bit. But of course, it will all come back together towards the end. It always does in these endurance races. We may see some quiet periods where strategy takes over, but right at the end, it really does build up to a crescendo, and that's what you always love to see. But as we do see, Diomeda versus none other than Monsivice. Well, as we can see, Monsivice trying to hold on. He's trying to stay with Damon Mitchell at the moment, and Mitchell still trying to chase down Nicholas Shvedska, who goes a bit wide there coming out of turn number 4. And he heads in towards Noble right now. Well, understandably, the 250 Audi driver, I think he wants to close down McDonald, but he's discovering the fact that to do so, every place you gain, the next place to gain is always 1% harder to take, because you always expect the driver in front to be just that little a bit quicker. So he's had to push the limits, but he's discovering his own limits as he makes his way around. As he does so, we'll look back to Ray to you, get a bit closer here to Delta leader Gareth McAllister. Perhaps getting ready to try and make a move here as they head on through the very fast Church Bend. But right now we look back for the rear of your Delta leader McAllister. Very confident in this race, it must be said. Keeping to you just at arm's length at the moment. 2 tenths of the gap as they get ready to go into club once more. It does seem as though right now McAllister just able to manage this gap. Damon Farlane for 8 tenths behind. And then Tyler Long is 4 seconds adrift. So I think there's been a bit of a mistake from Long somewhere, because suddenly he's dropped a long way back. But make no mistake, we've got some fighting going on here as we've got Matthew Shepka getting ahead of Cooper Akers. And Akers right now staying there. The Pennzoil Super Touring driver not able to find a way in. Went further back, John Daniels trying to go around the outside of Corey Lobner here for position. Or is it Lobner attacking? In fact, it is Lobner attacking Daniels, and Daniels retaking the spot through Allard. So defending on the outside there is Daniels. That's worked out for him. But Lobner definitely getting a bit aggressive here. And John Daniels right now feeling a bit of pressure. 22nd place he's holding on to right now. This is a bit of a different story compared to what perhaps he was expected here today for T0 Racing Summit. However, then again, there's still plenty of this race to go. We've still got 25 minutes on the clock, and pit stops are coming up soon. So that's going to be a fault there. All the drivers worrying now potentially about, have they done enough? Are they on course of their strategy? Or are they going to have to improvise to a degree? Well, just before the pit stops get underway, we are going to take a quick trip back in time, ladies and gentlemen, and to see how exactly Swirydowicz originally found his way past John Daniels firstly. Here we go. And this was the run coming in towards Campbell Cobb and Seagrave. And Daniels went a bit deep. And now Richie had to go around the outside to inside here. Brave move made. And the Ashot G driver get it done there. Daniels did not give up the defense. And that was some brilliant defending. But then our Richie broke his way through. And then we did have this from Shepka versus Akers. Battle of the Gammas for 10th place in class. 14th place overall. And it was the exit of the club chicane there. Shepka getting a much better exit. And in the end, by the time they got to Allard turning point, well, he was able to get that move done absolutely succinctly. And then we just saw this battle between Lobner and Daniels into Allard. And well, a similar situation there with the fact that Daniels didn't get the best of runs, whereas Lobner did, went to the inside. But John Daniels showed you can defend around the outside. A bit of a touch between the two of them. In fact, that unsettled the car of Lobner. But I think they'll put that down as a racing incident. And John Daniels taking that place back as we head back to your live racing. And so as we cover back, more to come, no doubt about it. But as our drivers continue to roar the way round, we are inching closer and closer towards the one and only pit stop for the drivers today. And we'll have to wait and see what exactly will happen there. As Gareth McAllister, meanwhile, Delta leader, but definitely feeding the pressure from an Alpha and Gamma behind, because you've got Ray to you, plus also Dan McFarlane there. And well, heading in towards the chicane at the moment. No move being made, but they're itching for it, I suspect. A bit further back, Tyler Long has got Ian Bertolucci for close company. Shepka is the first drive into the pit lane as I look out my contact booth window. So the senior driver says see you to the rest of the field, comes in, and as he does so, also there, Ian Bertolucci. He has been driving aggressively. Shepka up on the jacks, and well, I think that's going to confirm our suspicions. This is a one-stop race today, and both cars, they're going up, although Bertolucci goes a bit deep, and therefore I think the fact he's sharing a pit stall with Shepka, that's just blinded him to where he needs to stop the car. Well, that's unfortunate for Bertolucci, because he will lose about a second to a second and a half there as a result of having to reverse the car back, because remember, they are allowed to reverse it slightly into the pit stall, but not too far, otherwise they do essentially get disqualified from the race and being dangerous in the pit lane. So for Bertolucci, he's going to lose out quite a bit of time. He's got more work to do. Shepka's already left the pit lane. And with Shepka in the end with a 24-second stop. Bertolucci, 26.34 seconds. But we can expect that, given the mistake that came in. And meanwhile, Michael Polisek in for the lead of the race. But Swirydowicz goes another lap. Meillor's in as well. So Polisek and Meilleur both going for the undercut versus Swirydowicz, who's going for the overcut. As the Beaver and D's driver here pulled off a bit of a blinder strategically. A lot of drivers coming in. But Swirydowicz is going to go a 19th lap on that opening fuel tank. And is not splitting this race symmetrically. He is making it asymmetrical with a longer opening stint compared to what will be that final stint. Well, if it plays out for him, it'll be great. If it doesn't, meanwhile, well, it's not a moment of genius, it's a moment of confoundedness instead. As meanwhile, Zachary Bowman stays out of the Gammas, and he's got Leo Logan McKenzie right behind. And right now, the Pencil Super Touring Honda just using the Yellow Flag Motorsport 654, I think, as a means of perhaps saving some fuel. Remember, these two, previously teammates, but in different teams for this season. And McKenzie right now staying there or thereabouts, but as drivers leave the pit lane, I want to tell you that Michael Polisek already back out, and meanwhile, Matthew Meilleur still in the pits. He's just left now, and as he's done so, he's come out side by side with Nicholas Shvedska here. They're going to be touching as they make them out pit lane. It's 2-1. It's a drag race out the pits, and Meilleur, I think, will blunder in the pit lane. Well, he takes that place back off of Wojciech Swirydowicz, but Matthew Shepka gets ahead of both of them. So, go for the undercuts, worked out for the senior driver. He's jumped Swirydowicz there. Brilliant work from the senior team, and the Shvedska racing team right now will be fuming at the way this has played out, but still, he shouldn't give up, because if we know him well, he's going to go on the attack, and I think he's got a lot of pace he still needs to tap into here. He will have the pace to match Shepka, so as he gets that tyre, he's changed up to temperature quickly. But into the pits has come Swirydowicz, so is McKenzie, the rear of the picture. They're all piling in, those who've yet to pit. Mike Delmeda comes in as well, and well, Cooper Akers, but where's Michael Polisek? Here he comes, making his way on through the club chicanes. We look to the blimp camera. Swirydowicz, meanwhile, still waiting to leave his pit stall, and he starts to leave it now. Here comes Polisek down the start-finish straight. It's going to be close between them, but Polisek will retake the lead, as in the end, Swirydowicz comes out in second place, and in fact loses a bit of time there in the pit lane. He loses the best part of a second to Polisek. So that gap's actually opened up now to 2.8 seconds. But he'll be asking himself, where exactly is Meilleur? And well, the answer to that question is he's all the way down here in 15th place at the moment, and we believe he could be coming out in 15th effectively strategically, although he's going to pass a couple of drivers, including John Daniels and also Cooper Akers making them out the pit lane. But in the end, Meillor's in 13th place. It's all gone wrong strategically. Delta leader Gareth McAllister still in the lead of the class with Dan McFarlane for company, albeit Tyler Long is the main danger man, who's 6 seconds behind. So right now, Gareth McAllister looks to be in control of the Delta victory, so long as he doesn't make a mistake. But meanwhile, We do see Major Device make his way on through. As he does so, well, it's looking as though for the 7th place Gamma driver at the moment, pressure building with Shepka behind, and Shepka going on the attack. But just up the road, Bowman chasing after Smith, albeit I think the bigger question is he's got the pressure, but Donald Mitchell chasing after him, and David Mitchell all in the back right now. And what we can see, the Croc Promotions team once again back together. McDonald just coming ahead of Mitchell, but they've got to find the way past Bowman. That is the change that confronts them. But battling here, as this is going to be Shvedska versus Diomeda. Diomeda on the inside as they come through Church. 2-1 they go, and in the end right now, Shvedska getting the better run off the corner, and it's a blink if you'll miss it moment there in terms of that battle, but glad we can catch it. Shvedska there showing that sometimes you've got to be fully committed around the outside to hold on. But look at this, Gareth McAllister defending hard to the inside into Club, but here comes Dan McFarlane. Look at the inside of Cooper Akers, who's trying to pick on the Delta driver, but meanwhile McFarlane hops and skips his way over the curb of Club, and as he does so, he's out within track limits. I'm not 100% certain, but I can tell you one thing, he's hopped and skipped his way over those curves. He has taken the place. I think he has sealed it. And Dan McFarlane there using all the road and plenty more. He's using value-added tarmac on VAT. As he heads up towards turn number 2, will Cooper Akers, they'll be looking in front of him, thinking how on earth did he manage to keep that car settled over those curves? And the answer is they've set up that Hyundai Elantra today, have they at Sim Racing Grid, to make sure it can ride those curves very comfortably. And Akers sits behind meanwhile, and will now need to try and find a way back in his Honda. But what else is happening in the Delta class? Well, Ty Long, second of Deltas right now, 1.8 seconds ahead of third hour originally. But Ridgey is closing little by little, so we could have a fight for second of our car tip with 18.5 minutes still to go. Meanwhile, up the road, Matthew Meilleur trying to pick his way past another Matthew. It's the former Shepka, and the battle of the Matthews, or the battle of the Bats, it is going to be Meilleur who gets ahead. Indeed, the battle of the Canadians as well, and as he powers his way onwards, and now Meilleur's next target will be Monster Vice. And as they head in towards the next braking zone, with 1 second to close down, and close down quickly he will try. However, understandably, I suspect our number 58 TCR Racing Summit driver is going to have something to say about being defensive all the way to the end for that 10th place overall at 7th in Gamma. But we'll see how much of a defence he puts up and what the priority will be. Goodness me, what a way this race has turned so far. And, well, we are just going to try and find out what exactly happened to none other than Matthew Meilleur in the pit lane. So bear with us, ladies and gents. We might be able to get a bit of information. And the answer to our question is that, well, he just simply came to the pit lane. There was no black flag for speeding in the pit lane as far as we are aware. So therefore, did he decide to change all 4 tyres where everyone else has decided to only change 1 or 2 on the front axle? Well, if so, that's a big gamble there for Meilleur, and I think it might be a gamble a bit too far on strategy. But meanwhile, battle here of the T0 Race Ascent tyres. It's going to be a Darko battling with Trost. Can't find his way through at the moment, and Carl Trost going defensive here. He doesn't want to give way. We look back for the rear of your number 21. Running wide there, they're fighting over 6th place in the Delta class, and for Darko, he won't be too pleased about the fact this is going to cost him more points and cost him time, but Trost defends his line, and says, no, it's all fair, and indeed, I think the team have given the drivers permission to race, so they don't take each other off the road, but Carl Trost goes a bit wide, and as he comes out there, well, I think that's going to open up the doorway coming from Village, but now will Hidalgo have the bravery here that's needed coming through Church to get this done, tapping the brakes there, twice thrice, and in the end, Trost gives him all the space and plenty more. They don't want to make contact, and well, it's great racing between them as now that Elantra will gain the legs here at the Civic as I head in towards Club Bed. You can see behind there Jason Lynn catching up to this very quickly. He's looking at it right now. He's gained 2 seconds through their fighting over this lap, and was they tiptoe the way towards the end of this one to lap 23. Jason Lynn now getting ready to attack once again the Gator Racing driver, and well, I can imagine that the enthusiasm is definitely building for him as he'll be looking for that 6th place in Delta today. But we still got all of our runners excluding Micah Hendricks, which is great to see, and unfortunate for our non-starter. We would like to have seen him out there and see how far he could have gone, but still there's plenty more racing to come as we've got a change of position between Cooper Akers and Dan McFarlane for a length in Gamma, 17th overall. But meanwhile, also the change there is Logan McKenzie up the inside of Damon Mitchell, and well, your number 4 driver right now, a multi-time champion, the most decorated driver when it comes to championship crowns, a 6-time champion in the Alpha Touring Challenge. Well, Damon Mitchell not giving in. He's looking for the counter-attack here under braking. It's not going to quite work out. Logan McKenzie able to brake that a little bit later in the Honda, and now with 15 minutes and a final lap to go, will Damon Mitchell be looking behind him to see that he's got pressure coming, and it is Mon Service who's going to get ready to attack him as they roar the way through Allard. We ride on board here with the American TCR Racing Summit, looking to try and get a bit more involved perhaps, albeit it's got Matthew Meilleur for company, and Meilleur with the freshest car of them all, with all 4 tyres changed as we understand it, plus the fuel that's needed. Well, could he potentially have a role to play, albeit I don't think he's going to be catching all the way to the front of the field. It's cost him so much time, but never say never, to be fair. Perhaps he will be able to get in right towards the end. But here we can see you stay on board at your 58, and what you can see here is the fact it really is follow the leader for these corners. But again, remember, when you've got nobody in front of you, you can see all the apexes. You really are able essentially to line up the corners, but when you are behind another car, as Montevice shows you, well, visibility is poor. Suddenly understeer kicks in as well, even more than it normally does with the aero wash, and well, it suddenly becomes a much harder circuit to lap, and it really becomes a muscle and memory test all the way through. As he runs a bit wide there coming out of church, and that's going to enable Matt to have a bit of an opportunity. We'll look back from the rear of the 58, and here comes the SRG driver. Will he go for the move under braking? The answer is yes. He's going to try and creep his way to the inside. Montevice goes defensive there, but Matt slides his way through. Does he keep under control? He does. And Matthew Meilleur, there was a dicey move, a decisive one at that. Moves into 10th place. Next target then, Damon Mitchell, a second up the road, and then Logan McKenzie. How far can he recover before this race is done? Having gone full 4 tyres to be changed at the pit stop, can he potentially make his way to that top 5? He's got the time, but can he get it done? The battling's only going to get tougher from this point onwards, and I don't think Montevice right now is going to let him go. I think he wants to come back at this. We look back from the rear of Meillor's car, and well, coming out of Seagrave, you can see there that Lancia staying close, albeit doesn't seem to be the best off of those low speed corners, and it's just cost him a bit of time versus the Honda. From then we look to John Daniels, getting ready to battle with Evan Clavio here, coming in towards Campbell. Looking around the outside to inside into Cobb. It could be on, but not quite there. And when that camera angle makes you think they're going to make contact, but not quite so. Evan Clavio in there making sure to give the space, but Daniels 9 on that tight line. He had to back off a lot earlier than normal, otherwise he would have speared into the side of his fellow Honda. And well, I think there would have been words between them after the race, albeit of course most of these drivers, if not all of them, knowing at the same time the fact there are certain lines you take and lines you do not take, and it's all built upon racing experience. But normally most of the drivers in the Alpha Touring Challenge, you could say it's more of a family at this point rather than rivalries and friends, and everyone does understand when drivers get it wrong, there's no malice meant, and indeed if there's any malice fault to be at the cause of it, there's always the steward's room for that. But as we do see Corey Lobner getting a much better run here, well, here he comes down his Audi, and with this Gen 2 Audi, you're definitely proving to have a lot of acceleration in it, and we're getting ready for the move here, looking to the inside, here he goes, but not quite there as Daniels looks to his own move on Clavio, and right now Corey Lobner, the victim of an offensive defence there for Daniels, who wants to get the move done on Clavio. Lobner just wants that full place in Delta. He doesn't want the Gamma driver to be in his way, but unfortunately, that's the way the dice have rolled right now, and he's still got to find a way past. And going through the corner, well, he's going to stay there from Allard up towards Campbell. But I think right now it's going to be an exercise of patience here for Lobner. But under braking, you can see there he is the boldest of the trio. He is looking the more confident. But from then, we come back to your leader, Michael Polasek, comes towards the timeline. Still 12 minutes to go. And that gap, that lead is opening incredibly so. It's now up to 5.5 seconds. And we is lapping 3 to 4 attempts a lap faster than Swirydowicz. And in third, it's Zachary Leopold who's trying to hold off John Lauzon. Now remember, Lauzon was a little bit passive in his defence earlier on, but right now Zachary Leopold definitely holding on to that lead by 7 tenths of a second, but will we see that gap come down towards the end? Whereas the Pennzoil Super Touring 72 drives today, just too quick for Lauzon. Well, to be fair, Lauzon is probably thinking about the championship as well, and needing to beat this man, Fleet Smith, who sits behind, but he'd like a few more places than that. But meanwhile, hold the phone, because that's almost outracing between Damon Mitchell and Matthew Meilleur, and we were wondering how long it'd take for Meilleur to catch up to Damon, but as we said earlier on, he can catch him. One thing to catch is another thing to pass, as the late great Murray Walker once said. And right now, Damon Mitchell getting his elbows out here. He's going to make that out. He's so wide as he's being run on the back there by Meilleur. He's going to look around the outside at Noble. Here they go. In towards the left-hander. Behind is Montevice, who also wants to get involved. But David Mitchell 9, he's got to defend this as much as he can. He wants to keep the Alpha driver there. But as they now make the way through Goodwood, we can see Mad backs off there. He had a nose on the inside, but decided not to put the pressure on too hard. And they do come towards Thomas Fancock, and therefore he'll be stepping aside. Although I believe Fancock battling there with Jeremy Barber, so they won't be stepping aside that easily. This only makes things more and more complicated, because there you can see Barber just creeping ahead of Fancock. But here comes David Mitchell, swings out there like a pendulum, and goodness me, he'll part the seas. The two Deltas going to lap down there. Well, that's the most manoeuvre if I've ever seen one. And under braking they go, and Meilleur and Montevice, and they'll be looking at him thinking David Mitchell is Moses, and well, definitely showed that on the road. But right now, here comes Meilleur again, looking up the inside. He sees the momentum, he sees the line. The Honda driver in, but Mitchell defender around the outside. But is he going a bit too deep into the corner? I think he is. And Matthew Meilleur does get that move done in the end. But David Mitchell, to be there, having to deal with multiple items simultaneously, not just defence, but also to make his way past lap-down cars. And well done to everyone involved. But David Mitchell definitely being the first to answer that situation. But he's not out of it yet. And now here comes Major Monsvai looking for the attack of his own. But will he be able to find a way in? We will see shortly. As meanwhile, Corey Lobner finds his way past John Daniels. And we believe Daniels serving a slowdown coming onto the start for this straight for a track limit infringement going through the club chicane. And that's why Corey Lobner has opened up a second gap already, and the 5th place Delta Dry now up in the 23rd. For John Daniels, it only continues to slip down the order little by little. But as Fancock and Barber, they may be a lap down now, but credit where it's due for these two. Indeed, they're not giving up the fight here, and indeed, that goes to show you how motivated they are. They are scrapping over 9th place Delta and 28th place overall, but for them, remember, this may not be a lot of points for many drivers, but for them, these are very precious points, and that's what we love to see. But Fancock has got the upper hand of Barber, and we'll give you a replay of their battle shortly. But meanwhile, just behind him, here comes Shredska up the inside, returning the favour on Shepka from earlier on, and throwing the car to the inside there, and Nicola Shredska gets it stopped, and Matthew Shepka says, I know that's coming, I'm not getting involved. But he's going to get involved now because we jump aboard Right, Dalmeida for Yellow Flag Motorsport gets ready to attack. The 9 minutes still to go here in the long conga line. But remember, this is a mixture of cars on the lead lap and also lap down. And you can see there in terms of the gaps, will rate you a long way back by comparison. But as he goes into that braking zone, in terms of how the gap has changed when it comes to looking forward, well, it has been Dalmeida who's brought that gap down massively over the last 5 laps from 2 seconds down to only 2 tenths. And as they charged away on towards the next one, well, right now the battling continues. As we have seen Fancock let them go, and also then none other. And then Jeremy Barber, they both stepped aside, and it has caused their gap to open up a bit as we see Fancock there, and then Barber a bit further back. Now down at Farlane, onto the back here of Gareth McAllister, the Delta leader right now, trying to keep the Gamma driver at bay. And McFarlane, I think, trying to knock on the door here and find a way in. But as he does so, well, is he going to get the run here coming through Village in towards Church? He may just do. And indeed, it's all going to come down to a perfect line here. In fact, that is going to be a strong line, but is it a bit too wide? Slightly wide. They'll get away with that, albeit will be counted an off track. He will pick up an instant point, but McFarlane's got the momentum here. Now, has he got the confidence on the brakes to beat the Honda? Well, McAllister takes the outside line, does not defend it, and in the end, Dan McFarlane sees the space and take that place there. Good work there from Dan McFarlane. Had to fully commit to it, and Gareth McAllister being a bit compliant, but it always takes 2 to tango. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we take a brief trip back in time, in particular, to take a look at the battle between Thomas Fancock and also Jeremy Barber. So this was the pair batting their way, and as they did so, well, this was Damon Mitchell squeezed wound through, and I think in the end, Jeremy Barber actually backed off there when he didn't need to, and well, that gave Fancock the confidence to go round the outside, whilst the lead lappers will go through the middle, and we'll seize the opportunity there. So some smart driving from what's towards Fancock after what was their brilliant battle, but before that, of course, we did see the scrap all begin, and it was coming out of what was Goodwood in towards Village, and this was just before David Mitchell and company arrived on the scene. So it chops back and forth, but Fancock able to take that place there. But some brave manoeuvring from both of them. But of course, we also got to see what was that absolutely brilliant move from Matthew Meilleur on Damon Mitchell. And well, Mitchell was the first to come up to the scene, pulled his way through the middle of it all, and then Damon Mitchell finding that under braking, Matthew Meilleur was not going to let this go. And through a club, he looked safe, but it was on the exit here where Meilleur absolutely clattered the curves, picked up all the momentum, and got the run going in towards turn number 1. And that was how he made his way up into 9th place. But with that, we do also take a look back. And Nicola Shvedska's huge move only months ago on Matthew Shepka, and well, this was from a completely different postcode, some were saying, in terms of how late he went on the brakes, but to be fair, he was close enough there. They were adjacent, and onto the anchors he went, and well, very smooth on the brakes there from the man who's moved up to 8th in Gamma. With that, back to your live race we go, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do coming back, well, 6 minutes still left on the clock here. Still plenty of awesome racing to come here at the Thruxton circuit. And Zachary Bowman right now, he's trying to hold on for 4th place in Gamma, 6th overall. But look at the long line of cars he's got behind him. That's Chris McDonald, Logan McKenzie, Matthew Meilleur, David Mitchell a bit further behind. Mitchell has lost a bit of pace recently, so therefore he has slipped off this battle. But Bowman right now definitely feeling the pressure. And this is one of the closest battles to the circuit. We're going to stay with it for the time being, as we do see them all roll the way through. Although we actually do do cut back briefly. This is Matthew Meilleur looking for the move on Shepka here. So Shepka falling away like a stone. And Meilleur making that move happen. And, well, the number 6 moves up into 13th place. And that will count for 9th place in the Gamma class. But meanwhile, back to Bowman, McDonald, McKenzie and Meilleur. And, well, Zachary Bowman definitely holding on at least this time. Fleet Smith just up the road. There you can see the B4D's machine. And the little Bumblebee Audi trying to run away. But right now, Bowman trying to keep the tide at bay, it would seem. And, well, Matthew Meilleur here. How much more can he go for? 5 minutes to go here, but now he's got Logan McKenzie, and the problem will be is that if he's going to pass Logan McKenzie, well, firstly, Logan's not going to make this anywhere near easy for him because they are batting at the very top of the overall Alpha Championship. But understandably, they both want to get past McDonald and Bowman because, of course, for Alpha drivers, they only compete in one championship. It is the Alpha Championship or the overall. They do not get bonus points for where they finish in class. They only get bonus points for the traditional, what would be fastest lap. So therefore, for both drivers, they are in a bit of an interesting situation. Do they fight each other or do they try to fight the Gammas first and then fight each other at the end? But, of course, then you've got to have the Morse code, which is who is going to lead the pair of them. And both want to lead in carving the way through the Gammas, so it really is a bit of a big trade-up. And with laps running out, I suspect right now McKenzie may be going a bit more defensive than offensive as he starts to lose a little bit of time. McDonald there coming through club, so I think McKenzie now just slightly revealing his intentions, which is he'd rather keep Meilleur behind than try to risk making a move on McDonald or Bowman, only then to lose a position to Meilleur right at the end. So Matthew Meilleur is going to have to dig that place out if he can. But as they hop and skip the way through, turns 2, 3 to 4, you can see right now Bowman definitely under that pressure. Hasn't quite got the pace to stay clear, but is doing everything right now to maintain track position. We briefly leave them for a moment because we do have Cooper Akers and Tyler Long battling. And Tyler Long trying to make a move here for 18th place with Ian Bertolucci behind. Remember, Bertolucci started from the back of the field, has moved to 20th, but I think he's now found his match in the pair in front of him. And Swirydowicz Ridgely is a bit further back, can't quite get involved at the moment. And Swirydowicz Ridgely, who started in 31st place, up to 21st. I think this will be the furthest he goes, unless there's an incident of some description, but he'll be happy of that. As meanwhile, Matthew Shepka coming back here at Matthew Meilleur, and the senior team will be very happy with this. He does come back. It was a poor run a couple of laps ago to lose the place, but now here they go, 2 wide, heading up towards the club chicane, and into that braking zone they go through. And what will be Brooklands onto the anchors. Shepka defends the inside, and does he get it stopped in time? He does indeed. And Matthew Meilleur now gets ready to try and make another attack with Ray to for close company. And well, suddenly the 96 driver has arrived on the scene, but will he be able to get involved right at the end, or will he be more of a spectator? We will see. It's looking very comfortable right at the front for Polisek right now. This lap plus another 2 to go, most likely. He will gift us 36 laps here today, unless my maths is incorrect. And Wojciech Swirydowicz 9 seconds behind for Beaver and D's, where his championship lead will still stand very strong. But of course, it will be Polisek who will start to carve down that gap little by little. But we've still got quite a few rounds to go. And Swirydowicz, should he take the second place? Well, it is going to be a second place that will keep him comfortable going into the mid-season break. Zachary Leopold, third overall leading Gamma driver by 2.7 seconds over John Lauzon, and Lauzon has lost the pace to Leopold. That gap has opened up by 4 attempts on the previous lap. It has been opening quite significantly, and I think Lauzon might be playing the game, which is just take the second place, take 4th overall, don't push it too hard, because you're still beating the man you need to beat to get close to him in the championship of Fleet Smith, and that's exactly what he needs to do. As Smith right now, comfortable in 3rd in Gamma, 5th overall, but you can see the gap between himself and Bowman is actually coming down, as here comes Meilleur looking up the inside of McKenzie. First look for a move then. He tries to go to the inside, doesn't quite work out, but the point being that right now it seems like Fleet Smith is at risk of being drawn into this battle, but I think we are going to run out of laps where he gets fully drawn into it. That gap between Smith and Bowman came down by 2 attempts on that previous lap, and I think Smith is trying to manage that gap as best as possible, and it is just about working out. But as he does so, well, we do look to McDonald here, who has got McKenzie much closer this time, coming in towards Noble. McKenzie looks up the inside, tries to get his nose there, but the Audi's just too quick on acceleration. That Honda just does not have the speed in 4th gear, and that's the problem right now. That Audi is just so impressive in acceleration compared to the Honda. Of course, the balance of performance always playing it whereby the Honda has the weaker acceleration typically on the straight, but the inverse of the fact it is one of the stronger cars in the corners, and that's why it's able to carry so much speed compared to the Audi through several of these high-speed bends, including Church, where they just emerged from. But McDonald's right now, he's just using using that Audi to his advantage. He knows exactly how far he can go on the acceleration just to make sure he's safe into these corners when he needs to be. And well, he's worked it out to a T, no doubt about it. With 30 seconds left, we are on to our final lap. Lap 36 of 36 we'll see here today at Thruxton. And right now for these drivers, there's not long left, but will we see any more changes? Meilleur still trying to fight his way past McKenzie. It's not working out at this time. Battle further back. Jason Lynn and Carl Trost. Well, Lynn has got ahead of Trost. And well, Trost runs a bit wide. And just in the foreground there, well, that was, I believe, two drivers swapping places. But I believe it is a driver a lap down, going ahead of a driver, a driver who's a lap ahead of them, putting the lap down on them. But meanwhile, as we mince our words there, let's not mince the fact that Ray Teals looking for a move on Mike Diomeda. He's trying to find it, but that's not going to work out. And right now Diomeda holding on. But meanwhile, well, we've had to hold on for some time before we've seen this man return to the top. Because as Michael Polisek makes his way through the last couple of corners, it is going to be comfortable victory today for the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver. Polisek wins at Thruxton by what will be 10 seconds at the end, ahead of championship leader Wojciech Swirydowicz, who extend his lead with second place overall. And then it will be 7 seconds behind. Gamma victory for Zachary Leopoldien, third overall as well. A huge result as he crossed the line just ahead of John Lauzon, who settles for second in Gamma and fourth overall. Fleet Smith will come through. And in the end, it will be a bit of a lonely third place in Gamma, although he had company coming from behind, but he didn't want to talk to it in the end. And he will take fifth overall on the road as well. A brilliant drive to the Gamma podium for the B4D's driver, ahead of Zachary Bowman, who holds on with Logan McKenzie in the efficient seventh, ahead of Matthew Meilleur. And Chris McDonald being demoted to ninth place right at the finish line. They're not quite sure what's happened, albeit I believe McDonald perhaps losing out at line. David Mitchell taking 10th. And then it will be a Major Montevice in 11th, ahead of Nicholas Shvedska and Matthew Shepka. We need to come back to this man because in 17th place, Gareth McAllister, and the U-Mountain Motorsport driver makes it another win this season. Indeed, they don't come too often, but he'll be absolutely pleased as punch with that as he brings home that 17th place overall. Cooper Akers and entire long second in Delta, and it will then be Ian Bertolucci and Ferdinand Ridgely, who recovered from the back of the field after not setting a valid time in qualifying, to bring home third in the Delta class. Well done to Ferd for that. That's an impressive performance and a very valuable one. It means Tai Long doesn't gain too much ground on him in the championship. And Evan Clavio twid second ahead of Corey Lobner, with John Daniels being your last finisher on the lead lap. Well, what a race, ladies and gents, no doubt about it. An incredible 45 minutes of racing here under sunny skies at the Thruxton circuit in the county of Hampshire in England. And Michael Polisek, in the end, the driver who was untouchable today, took pole position and ran away with it and took complete control over the race distance. And, well, he'll be absolutely pleased as punch for that. And nobody could put the pressure on him today. But as he parks up in the pit lane to celebrate, John Lauzon there, looking a bit backwards rather than forwards. But I think he's decided to park on the runway, as several drivers have. Perhaps they're waiting for what is the private jet for Beaver and D's to take the ball away, with B4D's hitching a ride as well. But meanwhile, for Gareth McAllister, this will be a very happy win for the U-Mountain Motorsport driver, because remember, he took that win, that unexpected win in race number 2 at St. Petersburg after taking a podium in race number 1, so double podium for him, and the team having 3 podiums that day. And well, since then he's been constantly chasing podiums, but back today for his second win of the season. And for Gareth McAllister, what a way to do it. Tai Long in the end had no answer to him, but the T0 Race of the Ascent driver definitely enjoying himself out there, as he also drives on the runway, and as he makes his way on around here looking to try and take off to Fuji, no doubt about it, for at least what will be his break week holiday perhaps. Fleet Smith, meanwhile, not quite on the pace of the Gamma leaders today, but definitely enjoying a good run. But just before we bring you those results, ladies and gentlemen, subject to any Stewards inquiries, we are just going to take a look back at what exactly happened to Chris McDonald at the finish line. And here we go for a brief trip back in time. So this was the battle to the line. He'd already been passed, in fact, by what was Matthew Meilleur. So Chris McDonald losing out there, and I do believe it had happened a little bit earlier on. In fact, we can get you the replay of what happened. And this was the battle coming through Noble, and well, McDonald having to go defensive there, but this time Logan McKenzie looked around the outside to inside, and Matthew Meilleur looked to follow. He had a much better run compared to McKenzie and McDonald, so McDonald was passed by McKenzie, and because Meilleur had such a good run coming down in towards Village and then Church, well, Meilleur then was on the inside. We didn't catch this, of course, because we did see Michael Polisek cross the finish line, but a lovely move there from McKenzie, and McDonald just running out of tyre life, I suspect, right at the very end. But of course, it did enable Zachary Bowman to open up a half-second gap and just look a little bit safer right towards the finish. So that explains that story. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's head back to your live circuit pictures and take a look at those race results. And as we do come on back, and the checker flag being waved there by Barney Flag, well, let's take a look at those results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. And as we can see, after an absolutely brilliant 45 minutes of racing action, 36 laps to complete the first half of the season here in the Alpha Touring Challenge Season 17, powered by Syncmesh and Glass and Steel Photography and Design, brought to you on iRacing. Here in round 8 at Thruxton, Michael Polasek returns to winning ways for the Flag Motorsport, a huge win for him, and the Honda drive 10 seconds clear of Beaver&D's Wojciech Swirydowicz, but for Swirydowicz, of course, it'll be a championship lead extended as we go into the break. Zachary Leopold, your Gamma winner, third overall, a huge result for the Pennzoil Super Touring driver, and could this be the result that starts to bring him back into contention for the Gamma crown, given the fact it really has been a story as the season has gone on so far, whereby we have seen it was a bit of a runaway charge for none other than Fleet Smith and John Lauzon trying to follow suit, but now this could be exactly what Leopold has needed to give him the confidence that in the final few rounds of the season, well, he may not necessarily be able to mount a big challenge for the crown initially, but he can definitely become a huge contender for it as we run out of rounds. John Lauzon, second in Gamma today, will gain some ground on Fleet Smith, who finished just behind him, the Beaver&D right ahead of B4D's machine. And they will complete your top 5 together. And then we did see outside the top 5 in 6th, Zachary Bowman for Yellow Flag Motorsports, and well, a solid result there, but just wishing he could have perhaps been on the pace of the top 3. He almost did catch up to Fleet Smith, to be fair, and some would say if he'd not had to fight so hard with the two Alphas behind him, he may have been able to do that. And speaking of those Alphas, Logan McKinsey, third year Alpha drives, the Pennzoil Super Touring, fend off Matthew Meilleur, who had an incredibly long pit stop. We believe all 4 tyres were changed for the Canadian driver SRG, and that's what cost him the right to be inside the overall top 3. But still, he fought his way back up to 8th place, ahead of Chris McDonald for Croc Promotions, and his teammate Damon Mitchell right behind. And to be fair, Damon and Chris are both putting on some brilliant performances and brilliant battling action, and ran off the top 10 very happily there with 5th and 6th in the Gamma class respectively. Major Monster Vice in taking 11th there for TCR Racing at Summit ahead of Nicholas Shredska, and the Canadian driver Shredska Racing really battling hard, and whilst he lost out versus Monster Vice, he did not lose out to Matthew Shepka, who made a brilliant return pass into club right towards the end of the race, and the CEO driver had to settle for 13th instead. Matthew Meilleur was a further 3 seconds behind, but enjoying a great scrap between himself and Ray Tiu, with the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver holding off the Beaver&D's 96, and then we did see Dan McFarlane in 16th place there, just ahead of Gareth McAllister, bringing home a very valuable Delta win. And we just double-check with regards to the statistics, ladies and gentlemen. But I do believe for Gareth McAllister, this is going to be one of a very limited number of wins that he's had in his career. And well, in terms of the wins, it is his second Delta win of his career, of course, because his first one was obtained at St. Petersburg in the second sprint race. So his second win of his career, and what a huge result for him. He'll be absolutely pleased with that, and the team will be jubilant. They will be having a party as if they've just won the championship. But to be fair, it matters that much to them, and you can understand why. Cooper Akers finishing behind the UMAT Motorsport driver, a further 3 seconds adrift for Pennzoil Super Touring, but just holding off Tyler Long. Second place for TCR Racing Centre, and will slightly extend his championship lead with Ian Bertolucci there, 20th today, but the Brazilian driver gave everything to be inside that top 20. Outside the top 20, taking at 21st, it was further out originally, a third of your Delta drives, and given how poor his qualifying was with no lap set, well, the SRG driver did very well to fight his way forward to third place, so Long will gain a little bit of ground. However, he'll not be too far behind going into the break. Evan Clavio, the Sim Racing Grid driver, if it were not for that contact at the start of the race that he did have, we could have perhaps seen him chase down a podium, but still, it was the way it went, and well, understandably, it definitely went better than perhaps he expected after he got himself settled back down, and well done to him in his Honda for a good recovery. Behind the Chilean driver, it was Corey Lobner there, the privateer for CFR, and then John Daniels in 24th place for T0 Racing Summit, head of T0 Racing Ascent pair of Zach Hodako and Carl Trost, who fought each other harder than most, and then Hodako got the upper hand for 25th. It was also a lap down for Thomas Fancock, who managed to get the upper hand versus Jeremy Barber towards the end of the race, with the UMAT Motorsport tried the last of those a lap down, and we did lose towards the end of the race. Well, not quite Jason Lynn. I do believe he finished the race under his own steam, but we did lose Francois Schink. We didn't quite see what happened to the senior driver, but unfortunately we did have to say goodbye to his race with 14 laps still to go, and in the end we also did see a non-start for Micah Hendricks for Croc Promotions. So 31 starters, 29 finishes in the end, ladies and gentlemen, and well, what a race it has been today, and that keys us up very nicely to go into our mid-season break. But as we do cool things down here at Thruxton, of course, that only leaves us one thing to do, and that is, of course, to wrap up today's broadcast. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Alpha Touring Challenge, particularly if you're a big fan of touring car racing and you feel as though you want to join the grid, indeed, we are open to esports specials all the way through to rookie races, and given the fact we've been going for over 5 years, and this is our 17th season, we know a thing or two about putting on an absolutely fantastic touring car racing championship, and it shows. Well, of course, the best place to go to for all the information you need to get on the grid is our official website, alphatouringchallenge.com. Our website visible on screen. Indeed, if Wikipedia exists to be the encyclopedia of all knowledge free of charge, well, this is our complete compendium, our encyclopedia of the Alpha Touring Challenge. You will find all the information you need here. News articles, the rules and regulations, the full history, the Hall of Famers, all the statistics, you name it, is here. And it's just a simple and easy to navigate website of alphatouringchallenge.com. And of course, you can use this website as well to get yourself registered and to get to the beating heart of the community, and that is the official Discord. We definitely recommend joining. It's sort of absolute brilliant banter, full of memes, and also what everyone loves, talking about touring car racing action, whether it be in real life or on the simulator. But of course, at this point in time, we'd also like to say a big thank you to our series partners, including Syncmesh, and say a little bit more about them. Born out of the pursuit of one man's search for better gear for sim racing, Syncmesh is the company which provides purpose-built gear for sim racing, ranging from gloves through to full line of performance wear. With an obsessive attention to detail in their gear, which aligns with your attention to detail in nailing lap after lap on the simulator, you cannot ask for better gear to make your racing experience better. So if you'd like to know more, do head to sync-mesh.com today. But we'd also like to say a thank you to our other series partner, Glass of Steel Photography and Design, and the Alpha Touring Challenge's official photographer. You've seen plenty of his wonderful photos in the build-up to today's broadcast, as you see them weekly, and that's because Jason Lynn, well, he is a highly talented and approachable individual who provides both photography and livery design services for the iRacing simulator platform. This all being part of Glass and Steel Photography and Design. But do not just take our word for it. With 5-star reviews from his clientele citing him as easy to work with, detail-orientated, and a very fast responder, if you're looking for pixel-precise photography or a livery design to dominate the competition, then why not head to his website at glassnsteel1.wordpress.com today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we've got time for today. And next time out, well, of course, don't panic. Next week is a break week, but we will be back at the Fuji International Speedway, indeed the home of the Lexus F-Mark and also Toyota GR's development program. It'll be in the foothills of Mount Fuji that will continue the story. On Monday, the 22nd of June, 2026, they'll be going racing, our drivers, but we'll be bringing you the race action as if it were live as we make our way into the Oceania region tour to complete the season, and that's where we'll pick up the story in 2 weeks' time. And as we head into our break, well, it is Wojciech Swirydowicz who leads the way in the overall Alpha Championship, but the margins are looking marginal given the fact that Michael Polasek has come back to winning ways immediately after missing what has been his second round at Mid-Ohio, and we'll keep in mind that Matthew Meilleur is still in the hunt, as is Logan McKinsey. In the Gammas, meanwhile, Fleet Smith's lead has been slightly cut by John Lauzon, but he still holds a degree of control, and can Lauzon gradually chisel away, or will Smith prove too far away to do so? And in Delta, well, Tai Long has reasserted a degree of control at the very top of the Delta Championship, but Fred Ridgely seems to be really hitting his peak at the moment, and will we see Ridgely continue with winning ways, or will Eternity Long be able to keep him at bay, or could we see other individuals such as Gareth McAllister, like we've seen today, completely turn the narrative of the Delta class upside down? Well, for all that and more, ladies and gentlemen, tune in next time to find out. But until then, we have been the Alpha Touring Challenge, and I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. You've been tuning to a Paul Walsh production, and until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, ladies and gentlemen, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.